A great saint that comes to mind when I read this gospel is St. Ignatius of Loyola. And the reason that he comes to mind is because he has this great conversion story. And Ignatius was a great warrior, he was a great knight, a true knight in shining armor, if you will. Ignatius loved nothing more than going out onto the battlefield, slaying a few enemies, going and rescuing a damsel in distress, and then all of the other rich rewards that came with being a great knight in his time. And then Ignatius got hurt. Either he got shot in the leg or a cannonball hit him in the leg. I don't remember which one, but he broke his leg terribly. And so he was laid up in bed for, I think, 6 months or so, waiting for his leg to heal. Now, because Ignatius loved himself more than anything, and was probably one of the most selfish people in his life, and very vain, so vain that his leg, once it healed crooked. And he couldn't stand having an imperfect body. And so he asked the doctor to break his leg again so that it could heal straight. I don't even like having a hangnail, let alone asking someone to break my leg so it's more straight. And so Ignatius ended up being in his bed for over a year, I think. And in that time, laying up in his bed during, a time before internet and television, all he had to read were 2 books. He had the life of Christ and a book on the saints. Not the scriptures, just a book on the life of Jesus and another book on the lives of the saints. And as he read these books for a year, these 2 books, he started to feel an attraction toward Jesus. And he thought, man, this guy, he knew how to live, and he had these people following him, and he was doing good things and helping people, and he clearly must have been divine. He was doing these miracles, and he was just really brought into this man, Jesus. And then he read the lives of the saints, and 2 saints in particular really stuck out to Ignatius. It was St. Dominic and St. Francis. I'm a little more biased toward Dominic, but and he's in our window here. But when he read about these 2 saints and how they left everything to follow Jesus, that just made him even more interested in who Jesus was. And Francis and Dominic did exactly what the apostles in our gospel today did. As soon as they encountered Jesus, their lives were changed radically, and they literally, like the apostles, left everything and followed Jesus, taking on lives of poverty, living in community, going off of the generosity of others, and preaching the kingdom of God. And this really just put a spark in Ignatius. And he started asking himself, can I do that? Can I leave it all behind and follow Jesus? Now we all know how that ends. He goes on and starts the Jesuits, and he does do that. He does exactly that, and now we have the great Jesuit order and all the wonderful things that they do. But what Ignatius was doing in these very early stages of his conversion, he was laying out what now we call the discernment of spirits, his prayer life, his spiritual exercises, the greatest gift, honestly, that he has left the church. And in his discernment of spirits, the foundation of discernment comes down to understanding the difference between the good spirit and the bad spirit. Now, of course, ultimately, the good spirit is God, the bad spirit is the devil, but those aren't the only 2 influences in our life. The good spirit is really more general. It can include the people that we spend time with, the things that we watch on television. What do we do in our free time? What kind of conversations are we having? Those could be good things. They could also be bad things, right? And so Ignatius does have the 2 ultimate good and bad spirits, but they're more general when he writes about them in his spiritual exercises. And the crux of it, really, what Ignatius is getting at is he wants us to follow the good spirit. He wants us to be with people who challenge us to be holier, who challenge us to be trusting and honest and good and generous and virtuous. And he wants us to reject whatever is from the bad spirit, whatever tempts us, whatever draws us away from God, whatever is making us do things that are unnatural to the human person. And once we realize how these two spirits act and interact, not only with each other, but with us personally, then we can better discern, where is God leading me? And when we encounter the good spirit, hopefully we'll know this is what I should follow. And that's what happened in our gospel today. The apostles never met Jesus before. They had no idea who this guy was. And he was homeless, right? He was ratty, he was homeless, he was getting food from other people. He had nothing to his name. He had no family, no children, no land. In this culture, Jesus meant nothing. He was the only people lower than him in this culture would have been women and children, right? I mean, Jesus was toward the bottom of society. And he comes to a boat with fishermen who have jobs. They're contributing members to society. And he says, hey, stop what you're doing and follow me. And these guys did it. They left their jobs. They left their source of income. They left their family. I mean, James and John left their dad in the boat for Christ's sake. You know what I mean? And they're like, okay, literally, for Christ's sake, you know? I didn't catch that. And they follow him.